Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring you into a world of the Democrats' imagination, a world they view is coming this November. And I'm going to start by just reading this snippet from the New York Times. In October, President Trump declares a state of emergency in major cities in battleground states like Milwaukee and Detroit, banning polling places from opening. A week before the election, Attorney General William P. Barr announces a criminal investigation into Democratic presidential nominee Joseph R. Biden. After Mr. Biden wins a narrow electoral college victory, Mr. Trump refuses to accept the results, won't leave the White House, and declines to allow the Biden transition team customary access to agencies before the January 20th inauguration. Does that sound like a fictional reality? It certainly does. It's the same tired narrative Democrats have been pushing since before 2016. And somehow, and for some reason, we have a pile of these stories. Don't ask me why. How about this one? Michael Moore, the only way Trump wins in 2020 is if he cheats. The Washington Post, we need to prepare for the possibility of Trump rejecting election results. Market Watch, polls now show Biden defeating Trump in the 2020 election. But what if Trump refused to lose? We can even go back to February. What it would happen if Trump refused to leave office? The unhinged conspiracy theories that were all over the place in 2016 are here to stay. They've never gone away and they won't stop. They're only getting crazier. And yeah, far-fetched conspiracy theories, the New York Times asks. That's exactly what they are. And it's coming from mostly Democrats. I am tired of saying the Democrats are in panic, but the reality is, it's true. You know, someone asked on Twitter, or someone said on Twitter, if you keep reposting these stories about Republicans panicking, you're the mark, you're the rube, you're being taken for a ride by the same story written every single time with anonymous sources claiming that people within the Trump camp or the Republican Party are panicking over what's to come in November. For some reason, we see people saying these stories are fake. We know it's not true. Who are these sources? And what do we see in reality? Well, we see the Republicans just winning 2 special elections and winning very, very well. But where are the stories to pick this up saying, you know what, maybe we're going to see a red wave in November? Instead, what do we get? We get Joe Biden on track to win. We get Democrats on track to reclaim the House. We get stories about Democrats on track to reclaim the Senate. But the reality just doesn't seem to fit. And then when it comes down to asking these very same people what will happen in November, they come up with insane conspiracy theories. I assure you, it will not be Donald Trump refusing to leave or contesting the results of the election. It's been the Democrats doing it nonstop. So here we are. Republicans have a very healthy lead over the Democrats. Trump has a healthy lead over Joe Biden. The Democratic candidates are actually doing fairly well, and there is a chance Joe Biden could win. Trump supporters who refuse to recognize this, well, that will be your downfall, hubris. The reality is Biden can win. But why do we keep seeing these unhinged stories from the media? I don't know, honestly, but I can speculate. Perhaps they're hedging their bets in the event that Trump really does win or Trump loses. Or maybe it's Trump wins. They'll argue he didn't actually win. That way, when he says that's not a legitimate claim against me, they can argue about it. I honestly have no idea. I think the most likely reason is that it gets clicks. They want to scare people. The people who don't like Trump, they want you to be in fear. They want to shock you. They want to give you that sensationalist headline. And you know what? Around and around we go, playing the exact same game. Because as much as I'll criticize them for saying panic, 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 here I am once again saying Democrats and Democrats panic. And I got to admit, I am kind of tired of it. But this is a New York Times story. And what am I supposed to say when we have a wave of stories coming out all within 24 hours arguing essentially the same thing, that Trump is going to cheat? They're freaking out over this, coming up with unhinged theories that I just don't believe are based in reality. When you look at the poll numbers, when you look at Joe Biden's recent gaffes, the nationwide trend, and Trump's capitalizing off of these things, it looks like Trump is sitting pretty. So maybe I'm biased. I'll accept that. And I'll tell you right now, you can see an inversion of these stories. You will see people claim it's Trump who's panicking. It's Trump who's in serious jeopardy. And perhaps you could base that off of the polls showing Biden will win. But when I go back to 2016 and see the polls showing Hillary will win, I don't think that's enough evidence. When I look at the walkaway campaign, and more importantly, when 538, the famous pollsters say that California's 25th district and Wisconsin's 7th could signal a blue wave, but then we see a crushing defeat of the Democrats, I have to surmise it's looking well for Trump. So everybody's trying to convince you their side is winning. I'm sorry. This unhinged conspiracy says to me they're freaking out. So let's read it and see what they have to say and go through what's potentially really going on, at least from the way I see it. And of course, I could be wrong. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's many ways you can give, but the best thing you can do is share this video. I'm competing with major mainstream media that gets propped up on the front page of YouTube, and they also have massive marketing budgets. I don't have that same power. But if you like my content and you share it, it overcomes the algorithmic hurdles that I face with YouTube, holding my content back to prop up the mainstream media, and it's more powerful than a marketing budget. But if you just want to watch, hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell. Hopefully that's enough for YouTube to continue recommending my content. We'll see. But let's read the story. The New York Times says, Trump sows doubt on voting. It keeps some people up at night. A group of worst case scenario planners, mostly Democrats, but also some anti-Trump Republicans, have been gaming out how to respond to various doomsday options for the 2020 presidential election. Now, it could just be that the New York Times knows I'll latch onto a story like this and they're pandering to my biases. Keep that in mind. But this is something we've seen from many, many other outlets, and we've seen many Democrats and resistance-type lefties tweeting this stuff and posting this stuff on social media. That's why I'm inclined to think these people have truly lost it, and it's not so much that we are being manipulated with sensational stories they know we'll read. A little bit of that, let's be honest. You know, the New York Times knows that they're going to see a whole bunch of people like me saying, whoa, look at this New York Times story, they've really lost it. Whatever gets shares. It doesn't matter if it's a positive view or a negative view, because a view is a view and money is money. But let's read, with that being said. So I did read this, but let's go over it real quickly. In October, President Trump declares a state of emergency in major cities. William Barr announces an investigation against Joe Biden, and then Biden wins the Electoral College, but Trump refuses to leave. Here's what they say. Far-fetched conspiracy theories? Not to a group of worst-case scenario planners, mostly Democrats, but some anti-Trump Republicans as well, who have been gaming out various doomsday options for the 2020 presidential election. Outraged by Mr. Trump and fearful that he might try to disrupt the campaign before, during, and after Election Day, they are engaged in a process that began in the realm of science fiction, but has nudged closer to reality as Mr. Trump and his administration abandon long-standing political norms. And here we go. The New York Times jumping in very carefully, just dipping a toe in the water of the conspiracy theory to make sure they seem a bit more rational, but they're going to play the game same as every other freaky, unhinged weirdo. The anxiety has intensified in recent weeks as the president continues to attack the integrity of mail voting and insinuate that the election system is rigged, while his Republican allies ramp up efforts to control who can vote and how. Just last week, Mr. Trump threatened to withhold funding from states that defy his wishes on expanding mail voting, while also amplifying unfounded claims of voter fraud in battleground states. Quote, in the 8 to 10 months I've been yapping at people about this stuff, the reactions have gone from, don't be silly, that won't happen, to an increasing sense of, that could happen, said Rosa Brooks, a Georgetown University law professor. Earlier this year, Ms. Brooks convened an informal group of Democrats and never Trump Republicans to brainstorm about ways the Trump administration could disrupt the election and to think about how to prevent it. But the anxiety is hardly limited to outside group. I kid you not. They really believe this conspiracy unhinged nonsense. I don't know what else to tell you, man. It has been years, okay, since Donald Trump won, and it hasn't been the Republicans. Well, I mean, they won, so they wouldn't be complaining. Maybe they would be if they lost, but the Democrats haven't let it go. Arguing to this day, Trump only won because of Russia. Trying to impeach him over this nonsense. They've not stopped. There has been no legitimate, I shouldn't say no legitimate, but listen. We have had very little real political discourse over policy issues because the past several years have been dominated by either the Ukraine-gate scandal or the Russiagate scandal. Please just stop the conspiracy theories. But what do they say? Oh, they claim it's Donald Trump's base. Mike Baker of the New York Times says outlandish conspiracy theories are no longer relegated to the fringe. 44% of Republicans and 19% of Democrats believe Bill Gates want to use COVID, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about the Bill Gates stuff, okay? The point is, there are fears that the right, the fringe right, are spreading conspiracy theories. You know what, man? You can take your insults towards the right over conspiracy theories and place them neatly in a little box with the 3 years of Russiagate and then ask me if I care. You want to come out with all these stories complaining about right-wing conspiracy theories? Hey, man, I don't like any of the conspiracy theories. But you have no legs to stand on. I'm sorry. Because it was CNN, MSNBC propping up this conspiracy nonsense. And you know where the right-wing conspiracy stuff comes from? Small channels, not super large political commentary. The people who are sitting up on Twitter with hundreds of thousands of followers are conservatives with mainstream opinions that just so happen to like Trump. But you guys, you pushed the nonsense for years. Mark Elias, a Washington lawyer who leads the Democratic National Committee's legal efforts to fight voter suppression efforts, said not a day goes by when he doesn't field a question from senior Democratic officials about whether Mr. Trump could postpone or cancel the election. Prodded by allies to explain why not, Mr. Elias wrote a column on the subject in late March for his website, and it drew more traffic than anything he'd ever published. Just, you know what? Hey, this is why we can't have nice things, I guess. But I have a serious question on this, though. If the left really is drifting this far from reality, that so much so that the New York Times even entertains the possibility, even though they've been the ones screeching this whole time, does it come to a point where there's no way to bring everyone together? If Donald Trump wins in November and the Democrats argue Trump really didn't win, then they'll look to these articles and say, see, this proves that Trump really didn't win, and he won't accept that he didn't win. Will there ever be anything that the left and the right will be able to reconcile? Like, what I mean to ask is, are they drifting so far apart they'll never trust each other and that's it? It's over? Where do we go from there? Look at this stuff. This is nuts. The most traffic anything had ever published. But changing the date of the election is not what worries Mr. Elias. The bigger threat in his mind, he said, is the possibility that the Trump administration could act in October to make it harder for people to vote in urban centers in battleground states. Possibilities, he said, that include declaring a state of emergency, deploying the National Guard, or forbidding gatherings of more than 10 people. Trump can't do that. How many times have we heard them saying Trump doesn't have the authority to reopen the economy, but Trump has the authority to shut down the economy? Which is it, man? Does Trump have the right to supersede the governors, or doesn't he? He doesn't. Yet here we go. When it's convenient for their conspiracy theory, it must be true. Trump didn't do enough. Then Trump says, I have absolute authority. They say, no, you don't. Trump can't mandate that the churches reopen. He can't tell the states what to do, but he might tell the states what to do when it comes to the election. Man, welcome to the fringe conspiracy weirdo world. Michael Moore certainly seems to think so, but guess what? Michael Moore here, in my opinion, is lying. This is what I love about today's media landscape. There is enough space, there's enough going on to break down the lies from these fringe weirdos. The only way Trump wins in 2020 is if he cheats, says Michael Moore, appearing on Real Time with Bill Maher and warning that Trump may be planning ways to boost his chances against Vice President Biden. The only way they're going to pull it off is if he's able to cancel the election or postpone it. That is what we're going to have to fight against, because I'm certain that is what's going on in his head right now. Cheating. Okay. All right. Well, why is it then that recently Michael Moore said, quote, Biden does not generate the necessary enthusiasm that it's going to take to get people out. The Democrats are cynically counting on everyone's desire to remove Trump. All that gives more flashbacks to 2016. As do the anti-lockdown protests erupting in those same Rust Belt states that sealed Clinton's fate 4 years ago. Trump supporters, Moore said ominously, are more rabid than ever. This story came out May 21st. 2 days later, Michael Moore says, nope, Trump's going to cheat. Okay, I get it. Maybe Michael Moore's view on things changed in those 2 days. Or maybe they're just lying. Maybe because they want to get internet points. Maybe because they don't really understand what's going on. Maybe because they have, I don't know, memory, the memory of a goldfish. Maybe they just don't remember anything that happened in the days before. But why would Michael Moore switch from saying Trump's going to win because Joe Biden can't muster the enthusiasm and Trump supporters are more rabid than ever, but then come out and say, no, he's going to cheat. He's going to cheat. And then we get all of these stories arguing that Trump wouldn't leave. This one's from February 22nd, 2020. This one's from February 23rd, 2019. What if Trump refuses to accept defeat in 2020? They've never stopped saying the same things over and over again. I wonder how many times you could write these articles and get away with them. I'll try to differentiate my view from their view because there is kind of a mirror image here, right? This is what I brought up early on, but I think it's important to self-analyze. How many times have I made a video talking about Democrats in panic mode or Democrats are panicking? I get annoyed with myself over this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out, is there a better way to phrase this? But listen, when they've pushed the same unhinged conspiracy of which there is no basis in reality for years, and now they're actually having meetings where they're like, what if Trump does this? And the New York Times even entertains it and says they're feeling anxiety. I'm sorry. That is a legitimate article with quotes and sources from people who say they are panicking over this stuff. And it's an informal group of Democrats. Then you look at what happened in CA 25 with Katie Hill's district going from 9 points in favor of the Democrats, swinging 21 points for the Republicans. And it all kind of adds up. Now take a look at the stories they've been writing on the other side. What if Trump refuses to accept defeat in 2020? Hold on. 2020 didn't happen. You have no reason to believe Trump would refuse to accept a defeat. You just don't. First of all, he won in 2016. Most people believe he's going to win. Why keep writing these stories? Because I think they're lying. I think Democrats are panicking, but I believe many of them are panicking because they keep reading this stuff. They're panicking because they believe the weirdo opinions of people claiming Trump is going to cheat. It's just not happening. But we can go take a look at what really may be happening. You see, Michael Moore is actually right, in my opinion, on May 21st. Ask any left-wing populist Bernie Sanders supporter, will Joe Biden muster the enthusiasm to beat Trump? They're going to tell you no. No, because even they don't want to vote for the guy. You ask a Trump supporter and they'll laugh, happy that Joe Biden was the choice. So Michael Moore makes this point, and I say this one makes sense. Biden doesn't generate the necessary enthusiasm. It's a real point. It's been brought up in polls called the enthusiasm gap between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. But talking about Trump cheating is just panic conspiracy theory nonsense. And when you put these stories out, when you say it, you end up with panic Democrats freaking out. They're going to lose. Trump supporters are overconfident. That's their weakness. This is the difference. Democrats are panicking. Trump supporters are overconfident. Really. They think they can't lose. You really can lose, man. Biden is running ahead of Clinton's 2016 pace. Look, we can rag on Democrats all day and night. You come to my channel, I certainly do it. On this channel, a lot. On other channels, I'll talk about other stuff. But let's be real. I talk about it probably too much. But Biden is running ahead of Clinton's 2016 pace. His fundraising, while not beating Trump, is comparable. It's close. And Joe Biden is leading in the polls. That may mean nothing, let's be honest. And in battleground states, according to one poll, Biden is actually down. It's hard to know for sure. But to just discount Joe Biden outright would be wrong. There is a chance he wins. And the betting odds over PredictIt have it pretty close. And this is where Trump supporters need to get smart. And honestly, Biden supporters need to get smart too. You can't just go around claiming Trump's going to cheat. Sorry. If you can't muster the support, well, then you don't win. And Trump supporters, if you think you're going to win, that's when they sneak up behind you and they take that victory away. Unfortunately for the Democrats, though, one thing that, Michael Moore actually brought up that was spot on is that Democrats can't just rely on anti-Trump sentiment to win, which may be why they're pushing conspiracy theories, or actually, no, I should say this. They're pushing conspiracy theories perhaps to generate anger at Trump and anti-Trump sentiment. Get a bunch of people thinking Trump is a cheater who will never give up, trying to generate that. You want Trump to look sinister, nefarious. But even 538 acknowledges it won't work. You need to actually have a candidate. Here's what 538 says, why anger at Trump may not help Democrats win. They write, but if 2020 is an election driven primarily by anger, that might backfire on Democrats. Take the 2016 election. One reason former Senator Hillary Clinton was less successful in mobilizing Obama's base was because her focus on Trump's bigoted comments attracted some who shared her views, but did not resonate with non-white voters. The Clinton campaign bet big on the strategy of highlighting the racist and xenophobic undertones of the Trump campaign. But its basket of deplorables messaging appeared to engender more of a rise from Trump supporters than falling under this label than people of color feeling targeted. It was a severe miscalculation of the way people of color respond to political threats. That's right. Take a look at the story about Joe Biden saying, you ain't black, and what Charlemagne the God of the Breakfast Club was asking. For those that aren't familiar, big story. on The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God, Charlemagne was asking Joe Biden about what he's going to do for his community. Biden said, "I've got to go." Then Charlemagne said, "I've got more questions." Biden's response was, if you're having trouble figuring out, why not to support him, basically saying, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. That's what he said. And Charlemagne the God did not react the way these people think they would react. This story from Market Watch. Charlemagne the God tells Biden that black voters saved your political life in the primaries and have things they want from you. He wanted to say it was cool that Biden apologized for it, but you've got to really answer to them. The Trump is bad, orange man bad, and the conspiracy stuff and the I hate Trump doesn't fly with the non-white voters. And it really does make sense if you look at the data. One study I really love highlighting is the Hidden Tribes More in Common study that shows progressive activists make up 8% of this country, and they tend to be overwhelmingly white and upper class, college educated, over $100,000 a year. Interestingly, this is the weirdest thing. I was reading one poll showing that Trump is actually doing bad against Biden in the polls because he's losing white voters. That's right. Trump has actually made some gains within the black community and minority voters. He's actually doing kind of well. But somehow it's white people who don't like him, which flies in the face of everything the Democrats would tell you about Donald Trump. But it takes me back to the story from 538. Hillary Clinton tried to accuse Trump of all these worst things, all these names. I'm sorry, man. The progressive activists who fall for this stuff are white. So you're going to attract them, fine, but you're not going to get the non-white voters you think you need. It's not going to work. And that seems to be what they're betting on. Joe Biden apparently tried claiming that he was endorsed by the NAACP, and they came out and said no. They said yesterday, former Vice President Joe Biden made a comment about the NAACP's endorsement. We want to clarify that the NAACP is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse candidates for political office at any level. Vice President Joe Biden said during his Breakfast Club interview that apparently he had been endorsed by the NAACP. It just doesn't work. I wish the Democrats would try something beyond just complaining and acting like there's a big conspiracy and Trump is colluding with Russia or whatever. The Russian collusion narrative, Trump cheated to win. It was proven false. There are odd questions arising over Barack Obama's potential involvement, the weird circumstances around Susan Rice's emails, a bunch of really weird things happening. And the best they can muster up is a second conspiracy, Ukrainegate. And when that fails, the best they can muster up is some blank, nonsensical, unhinged conspiracy with no real basis. Look, if you come out and say Trump, colluded with Russia, at least there's substance to your argument. Russia did this. Trump was involved. Ukraine. Trump made a phone call to Ukraine. Hey, there's substance there. You're wrong. Now there's nothing. They're literally pulling nothing out of a hat saying, well, Trump cheated last time and treated with Ukraine, and now he's just cheating. How is he cheating? Well, he's just cheating. He's cheating. Right. That's all they have. They've run out of ideas. They tried claiming that Trump was colluding with China. And then turns out that story was false. Everybody immediately drops it. So we get Russiagate. What are we on? Russiagate 4 now? This is awesome. I love it. Here we are. Russiagate. Russiagate 2, Ukrainian Boogaloo. Russiagate 3, Trump's big trouble with Little China. Turned out to be false in like a week. And now we're on Russiagate 4. We got nothing. Orange man bad. There you go. Russiagate 4, Orange man bad. It's the best they could muster up. I think it's funny, right? When this story came out from the Washington Post, we need to prepare for the possibility of Trump rejecting election results. May 14th. Many people were quick to point out, are we really going to do this again? They asked, are we really doing this again? We did this in 2016. You going to do it again? Yes, we are. Because following this, and I didn't do a lead segment on this. I was like, yeah, I get it. I don't want to touch this stuff. But look, man, I'll tell you what. When Michael Moore comes out, Michael Moore was right in 2016. He predicted a Trump victory. Then on the 21st, he predicted another Trump victory. Now he's claiming, well, Trump's going to cheat. All right, man. Okay. Can I have some issues, please? Can you tell me about what your policies are? I know look, there are very few people, I guess, who actually can talk about policies, but I'll tell you one thing right now. I don't know a whole lot about what Trump is aiming for the most part. He's going to make America great again. He's going to keep it great. He wants to bolster the economy. Those things sound nice. Joe Biden says he'll do the same thing. I can give you one right now off the top of my head. I could probably give you a bunch more. Joe Biden's stance on immigration is untenable with the average American, and that's a fact. Moratorium on deportations, the benefits to non-citizens. These are simple issues where Trump and Biden are divided. Now, beyond that, let's be honest. It's sports politics, man. It's people want Trump to win because it's their team. And then people want Biden to win because it's their team. That's the anger that Democrats are hoping for. They're hoping that they beat Trump because people will vote based on their team and not on their candidate. That won't work because it doesn't work for minority voters. As we heard from Charlemagne the God, he says, I want to know what you're going to do for my community. Guess what? Trump holds meetings for the black community, for Latino community. He does. And he says, here's what I'll do for you. Unemployment's going to go down. We're going to bring jobs back. We're going to bring up your wages. Those are real things you can offer. Joe Biden says, vote for me or else, basically. All right, I'll wrap it up there because otherwise I can rant on this forever. But I'm fully expecting to see many more conspiracy theories in the time, as we get closer to November, and I fully expect the media to blame the conservatives for the conspiracy theories. But I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is a different channel, and I will see you all then.